What a joyous day it is. Good morning to all of our viewers and listeners. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, this is the Going Broadway podcast. I am Alex. To my left is Cole, and it is Belt Giveaway Day. Cole, what's going on?
Man, today is a great day. And Alex, before we get too far into things, we're not just giving away belts today because for those of you who don't know, it was my main man Alex's birthday on Tuesday. So happy birthday to him. And because it was your birthday.
Uh-oh.
We got you a little gift.
Uh-oh.
Want you to check that out for my wrestling buddy here.
This is an unplanned
He didn't know
part of
this
the
was
show.
coming. He did not know that he was getting some. He thought he was giving away stuff today.
Uh-oh. Cole got me a Bray Wyatt shirt. Oh, man.
If you ever watch our podcast, this guy will go live sporadically when things happen with this Fiend character, this Bray Wyatt character. So happy birthday to you, Alex. You can't hurt it with the Muscle Man dance
awesome.
there.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
That's
Happy
awesome.
birthday to you.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I totally forgot what direction I was going to go because, yeah, like I said, that was totally unplanned. So,
Oh, man.
but yeah, I appreciate it. That's a cool shirt too. That's a really soft shirt too. Like it. I mean, these pro wrestling shirts that I get. I don't opt for the softer fabric or whatever it is, but that's nice. That's a comfortable shirt. So, all right, guys, I promised a third belt in our giveaway. I promised the reveal, and it's very apropos, so to speak, as it were, that I'm wearing my Tully Blanchard shirt today. Our first belt giveaway was the NWA National Heavyweight Championship belt. In my opinion, most famously held by Tully Blanchard, but it is also very apropos that I wore my Arn Anderson shirt on our last show on Monday because the third belt is, insert drum roll here, and it is the NWA Tag Team Championship belt on blue leather. Again, all of these belts that we're giving away are real belts. These are not toys. Real zinc plates. And the blue leather on this thing is amazing.
It's really nice.
So, again, we're going to do that belt giveaway later in the show. We're giving away a big gold, which I have in my possession, a domed globe that is currently in work. I don't have it with me. I don't have it on me, but I should have it within, I'm being told probably within the next month and a half. And then the tag team belt that I just showed. So, you know what? I think I'm just going to drape this over my shoulder for part of the show. Maybe. This draft's doing something weird back here. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And I'll go through, before we do the giveaway later in the show, I'll go through all of the, I don't want to say rules or stipulations, but just kind of like basically how it's all going to work, because we're going to do 3 different drawings, but long story short, whoever wins on the first drawing essentially gets their pick of the 3 belts. The second person drawn gets their pick of what's left, and then the third person drawn gets whatever the other 2 didn't pick. So, that being said, we do have a show to do.
Yes, sir.
So, I wanted to bring up right off the bat the first headline of the day, so to speak. And I want to get your guys' thoughts that are watching us right now on what you think about this, how you think it's going to look, just your opinions on the whole thing. So we found out earlier in the week that the current WWE 24/7 champion, Rob Gronkowski, has been traded to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to join his buddy Tom Brady, and it's all but certain that he's going back to the NFL. So WWE posts a story link update, whatever you want to call it, congratulating Gronk, basically saying that, congratulations to the 24/7 champion, but it's also in storyline saying that pretty much be ready. The 24/7 champion needs to be ready to defend at all times. You could be taking a pass from Tom Brady in the end zone and get pinned. Obviously, that's storyline because I'm sure WWE would have problems with getting one of their talent onto a field during a regulation game. That being said, the Buccaneers posted a video of Gronkowski hyping the 24/7 title, and then WWE responded to the tweet, and they basically said, got to keep your head on a swivel as 24/7 champion. So it's cool how they're kind of keeping this storyline going, but and I'll just kind of make my opinion short and sweet. I think Gronkowski just needs to do one or the other. I mean, he has injury history being in the NFL. He only had 1 year on his only has 1 year on his contract remaining, which explains why in the trade that the Patriots didn't really get a whole lot for him.
Right.
So, Cole, your thoughts?
Well, first off, it doesn't shock me that he's going back to the NFL. I was actually shocked when he retired from the NFL.
Agreed.
And he talked about how he had lost his love for the game when he retired, which then made a little sense. And he's done a lot of getting out into the media kind of things. He was on The Masked Singer and was really entertaining on that. He then does WrestleMania and kind of does that whole thing. And so I'm not shocked that he's going back to it. I'm not shocked that he's going to Tampa Bay to play with Tom Brady. I think that's a great move for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still young enough and good enough to play. I don't think wrestling was ever in the cards for him.
Well, that's just it. It was supposed to be, though. Like, he signed a talent contract, from my understanding, that he was going to wrestle.
Yeah, but to me, he's always been so wishy-washy in a lot of areas. And so, when I saw that, I was like, I kind of believe it when I see it. I mean, to me, it was like WWE just taking advantage of a name saying, I'm interested. And signing him, they got their money's worth out of it. People, are buying his merch on WWE Network or on WWE Shop. They watched WrestleMania. He got the 24/7 championship. People are talking about it. So, I mean, I think they've gotten their money's worth out of him. I'm sure they didn't pay him an arm and a leg to begin with. So, I'm cool with it. I definitely think he drops it pretty soon. If not, he won't carry it through the NFL season. All right.
No, I mean, I think as soon as the NFL season starts, assuming it starts on time, I mean, that season starts, September, I think. So that's plenty of time for this coronavirus stuff to pass. I hope it does. I have little to no knowledge as far as what that's going to look like in terms of sporting events having crowds and things like that, or a sports league starting their season on time. But I agree. I think it's going to be sooner than later, even if it's just like a quick video that they post on WWE.com showing that he gets pinned on his way to the store or something silly like that. But
I could see it being done on the practice field or
yeah,
some kind of interview or something that Gronk's doing. But I have a hard time believing the NFL will be okay with WWE sticking their nose kind of in their business, especially with them retrying XFL, and
they won't be. I mean, I have a hard time believing vice versa as well. I don't think they're going to intermingle in any way, shape, or form. WWE is going to stray away from anything NFL. NFL is going to stray away from anything WWE. Like you just mentioned, case in point, they tried to revive competition to the NFL. I'm going to read some comments real quick here because we've got them coming in by the second here. Let's see. I'm just trying to get to where we got a lot of comments on the Nia thing. We're going to get to that as well. Jay says, R-Truth will take the belt at their first show. Plug WWE and NFL. Wouldn't surprise me if Tom Brady holds it first. Like we said, I don't think WWE and NFL are going to have any kind of co-promotion.
I could see Tampa Bay allowing some things in an interview on the practice field.
It would definitely have to be a team specific thing.
I do think it's funny that it's Tampa Bay because it's still Florida. So like everything that's going on
That's
right
true.
now is that he won't be far from the head, the center of wrestling for them right now.
And that's a good point. That's something I didn't even think of. Which also means that they're likely to start their what they call their OTAs, basically their workouts prior to the season. Alan says I'd be happy with any of them. Oh, sorry. That was a belt comment. Alan says he'd be happy with any of the belts. Conrad says I hope Gronk defends it on the sidelines at the first game. I don't think that's going to happen, but
Fox could push it. That's true.
yeah. Justin says, I swear if this comes to a running joke with celebrities getting it, I'd hate it even more. Yeah, that's the one thing I've hated about it. I mean, if they're wanting to have it be WWE talent specific, even if it's a WWE employee, at least it's somebody with WWE. But I agree. This whole Enos Cantor winning it and guys like that, it's just, I think it's a joke. Or they make it into a joke, and R-Truth, leave it to R-Truth to bring something out of the trash and make it at least watchable, at least comical. We have a lot of comments saying he could lose it after a game doing an interview. That one of those is from Blake. Andrew says they should rename the belt the Schoolboy Championship. Wade says he should stick to football. Trevor asks, do we know how much his WWE contract is worth? I don't know. But like Cole said, my guess is it's probably not a whole lot, but I don't know. I mean, it's Gronk. So
he wasn't the signing of like a Ronda Rousey. Okay,
no,
Ronda Rousey has
all.
a background, or Cain Velasquez, Tyson Fury. Like they had fighting backgrounds to where it's a little bit easier to work with them. And I know a lot of football players go into NXT, but they spend a lot of time typically in NXT developmental. You don't see these guys usually jump directly to the main roster. Gronkowski had the name and the charisma to get over from being on the mic and kind of being like, had there been a crowd at WrestleMania, people would have been laughing and joining in crowd wise with him because he's infectious with his entertainment.
And guys, we do our best to try to read comments as best as we can, but at the same time, you guys are sending them in, like I said, by the second, which we appreciate. I mean, we love the feedback. We love the participation. That's why we do this, to get your guys' thoughts as well. So if I skip over anybody's, I sincerely apologize, but a lot of these comments are very similar to each other. Some of them are saying that, there's cross-promotion, building his own brand. One of those is from Wade. Justin says he's very cringy to watch like a high school boy in a grown man's body. I can't disagree with that. I mean, there are times where I'm just like, really? I mean, and a lot of that was during his NFL days. I think he's kind of toned it down some, but at the same time, like I said, I can't disagree with that completely. Dusty says, my prediction, he loses it to someone under contract with WWE. A serious follow-up, he will wind up working out a contract extension before the season starts. He will not be Tom's primary target in Tampa, and that will help him avoid the wear and tear injuries he ran into in New England. And we'll see. I mean, I watch the NFL, but I'm not one of those guys that could do NFL fantasy just because I don't follow it enough. And I don't know what Tampa Bay's roster looks like at the moment. So I'm just going to scroll through some more of these. Justin says if this was the XFL, he'd be getting pinned during a game, but the XFL of 2004. Yeah, not surprising. Bill says I heard 500K a year, believe it or not. It could be. I don't know. Let's see.
I'm trying to find it now.
Mark says if Gronk was in the NFL, there could be a title change in the end zone, but I don't see NFL allowing that anywhere in a stadium during the game. Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think that's going to be – I don't see WWE and NFL doing any kind of cross-promoting. And Lynn says Gronk would get paid on a pay-per TV appearance. And that could be the case as well. It could be a $500K guaranteed and then pay per appearance. I don't know. I don't know how WWE structures the contract of talents that they know ahead of time aren't going to be on TV a whole lot. I mean, they knew Gronk was hosting WrestleMania, and that was really it. So, and I think that's the one contract they've had since this coronavirus thing started and all the uncertainty surrounding it. So that could have played a part in it as well. That's all the thoughts I had on the Gronk situation. I wanted to, and someone else mentioned this earlier in the thread. Sorry, guys, I got something in my eye. So the match from this past, was it Monday night on Raw? Nia Jax and Kairi Sane match.
The rematch, yeah.
And I'm not gonna get too much of a soapbox on this, but I've seen things on social media going back and forth that that Nia was being careless again. I've also seen people say that, well, it was done that way on purpose. It was a work. Here's my take on it. And again, I apologize in advance if I get on too much of a soapbox. I'm not going to try to ramble on this too long, but I've made it very clear that I don't think Nia Jax has any business in a wrestling ring. I think she's too dangerous, whether it's purposeful or not. Unfortunately, she has connections in the business, but I don't care who she knows. I don't care who she's related to. She is too reckless. Case in point, let's say hypothetically that this spot was planned. Hypothetically, let's just say that it went according to plan. You're still, if you're Nia Jax, so and Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio kind of painted the picture best, in my opinion. He basically said that if you're Nia Jax, you are holding somebody up, and that person that's being held up is at your mercy. You are trusting them 100% with not just your career, but your life, essentially. You're being held up. You're helpless. You don't have any control of how you're going to be dropped or win. And bear in mind, Kairi Sane just came off of a concussion. Now, I don't know the specifics of, there's a video out there that allegedly shows Kairi saying, Nia, I'm not set. I've heard people say, well, she's actually talking in Japanese, saying something along the lines of let go or something like that. I've seen it all in the last 3 days. Again, let's just say it was a planned spot. Let's just say that she being Nia, let's just say she misread the distance from, and Mark actually kind of said this. He said, Nia misjudged the distance she was from the turnbuckle. It was reckless. You should have ring awareness at all times, especially someone who has been in the business as long as she has. 100% agreed. The problem I have is, even if that spot was according to plan, or if they planned that buckle bomb spot as they're calling it, she still misjudged. At best case scenario, Nia misjudged how far she was from where she was standing to the turnbuckle. She threw her pretty carelessly. I mean, if you go back and watch, there was a lot of push from the upper body standpoint, and she landed right on the back of her head and her neck on the bottom turnbuckle. And in all the years that I've watched wrestling, Nia has probably had 2 or 3 of the most, again, purposeful or not, the most reckless, almost out of control spots that I've ever seen. And this was one of them. Regardless of whether or not Kairi came off a concussion, this would still be nasty. But the fact that she came off a concussion makes it even worse. Your thoughts?
She kind of reminds me of like a Ryback. And I think what happens is I think she almost gets so over into character, because like her character is like, I don't, kind of like this, I don't give a flip if I hurt you kind of character,
Right.
So I think sometimes it's almost like when you get into like I almost said the same thing about Ryback. They're so powerful compared to most of the people that they're fighting or that they're wrestling, that they forget how powerful they are in the moment. And I think that actually, we don't know what it's like. We've never professionally wrestled. I don't know about you, but when I get into some kind of character or I get going, like sometimes I don't realize my own strength at times. And so it would be like you playing with your kid, and sometimes you don't realize your own strength, and you might, shove them a little bit harder if you're play wrestling with them,
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I would view it with her, is that Kairi Sane is small. light compared to Nia Jax. Nia Jax could throw her across the room if she wanted to. And so in that particular instance, I definitely think she misjudged, and I definitely think that she expected Kairi to react differently to the throw than how it was done. I definitely think it was a miscommunication for sure. Not condoning Nia Jax because it was definitely reckless. She definitely should have waited or made sure that she was ready. But it definitely reminds me of like a Ryback. Like Ryback's not waiting to know if you're ready. Ryback was going to German suplex you or body slam you or throw you, whether you were ready or not.
See, and I get that perspective, and I know some other people, at least one other person mentioned that in the thread as well. My argument to that, though, is that's where the Performance Center comes in. That's where you work on things that you're weak in, and I agree that that's one of them. You know, Nia tends to underestimate her strength, underestimate.
Most of hers are usually due to overcalculating or undercalculating where that person needs to go.
Yeah.
So throwing or body slamming or whatever, it seems like she misses the mark.
So Justin said what I was trying to get at. So she's been in the business for quite some time. This should have been something that should have been pretty much, in my opinion, near perfected long ago. You know, if she needed to go back to whatever development is before they send someone to NXT, you know, that's a big deal whenever you're doing power moves like that. And sorry guys, I underestimated, how far I was going to throw you, or, basically underestimating my strength. And it's just, I mean, come on, like, this isn't the first. I probably can't count on one hand how many times I've seen Nia Jax be careless. Now, some of those didn't result in any kind of injuries. This one may be included. I mean, so far from what I've heard, Kairi wasn't seriously injured, if injured at all. But it's just the appearance, the aesthetics of the situation in its entirety, of the track record of how careless she has been in the ring. Again, I don't care who she knows. I don't care who she's relatives with. She needs to go back to, again, whatever the development stage is before NXT. I don't know if that's just an extended time at the Performance Center, but she clearly, even if it's not on purpose, she's got some stuff that she still needs to work on. And if it is on purpose, get her out of the business. Again, I don't care who she knows. Whenever you're in the professional wrestling, again, like I've said, like Cole said, we've not been wrestlers, but we know enough to know that whenever you're in a wrestling ring, oh, there it goes again. We need to move around. I guess we need to be more animated. Whenever you're in the wrestling business, you are completely 100% trusting of the other person or other people on the other side of the ring. And by the way, Brian Alvarez, who again is on Wrestler Observer Radio, he's actually a professional wrestler as well. He's gone on record in saying that there's only a few people that he knows of in the entire business that he'd be unwilling to step in the ring with, because he said he wouldn't feel safe. Nia Jax is one of them. What does that tell you? That someone says, well, I would be unwilling to compete with this person in the ring because I don't feel safe. So
it's definitely one of those things where, like, I definitely think that's something that she does need to work on, because there are several wrestlers that there's things that they need to work on, right? And so I think she's one that's something that she needs to work on. I don't think it's intentional.
I don't think it is either.
I don't think several of the more recent wrestlers who have been deemed unsafe, I don't think they're intentional. I don't think it's one of those situations where they're going out there hoping that someone gets hurt. I think it's more of a lack of training, yes, but I think it's also just a lack of understanding each other in the ring. Like, when was the last time Kairi and Nia Jax ever had a match together?
No, agreed. I don't
like
know if they have.
Sometimes you get these people in the ring, and especially in the current situation, how much time are they actually spending together to even work on a match? How much time are they spending together to really work out the kinks and work out when you're talking about throwing somebody across the ring, that's something you should work out ahead of time, especially as someone the size of Nia versus someone the size of Kyrie. Because if I'm throwing someone, that's half my weight, if not even more of a difference, I'm going to be able to throw you pretty far.
Agreed.
And so that's definitely something that I don't think happened. I don't think they really worked out. The match itself was not very good to begin with. It was a very one-sided, very simplistic match. There wasn't many spots in it. So this is something that I felt like was we're going to do this, but we're just going to wing it we're going to go on the fly. We're just going to wing it. And those typically don't turn out very well.
Usually no.
In those situations. So I almost feel like this was a miscommunication. It does look bad on Nia to have made comments about Ronda
right before this.
And Ronda is unsafe. I'm not going to deny the comments. I have always said that I felt like there are some things that she does that just look scary in the ring.
What's funny about this is that I even remember saying, it was maybe on Monday's show, but within the last week, I don't know if it was Monday or the prior Thursday show, about the whole situation with Ronda and Nia and how I, was like for the very first time and maybe the only time, very like pro Nia in that situation, how, Ronda is careless in the ring, doesn't have a respect for the business. I don't want to say I've done a complete 180, but it's just like I'm still not a fan of Ronda Rousey in a wrestling ring either. But Nia Jax is just like, someone said on our stream earlier, I think it was Dusty. He said, Dusty, she's injured 9 ladies in the last 2 years, but if you take into account her break because of her being injured, 9 people injured in a year and a half, and that's unbelievable. I don't know if that stat is true, but it's at least 5. She's injured at least 5 for sure.
I also wonder if she's struggling because she's a very, in WWE specifically, she's a very rare body type and build. I don't know if there's anybody that is is able to communicate to her the importance of not chucking a woman that's that size across the ring.
Right.
Because I don't know if there's any woman who can relate that to her. I know that there's a lot of male coaches who teach, but sometimes the correlation doesn't feel the same.
Right.
And so I just don't know if she really needs to spend some time with somebody who can coach her in a way that makes her remember you're not. It's not like two men. A lot of the time, men's wrestlers, given a little bit of leeway, are relatively close to the same builds and same weight class. Like there's a good balance there to where you can work it out. She's constantly in the ring with smaller people. So if she runs and smacks you into the turnbuckle, that's a lot of weight. She's got to know how to balance that weight and not throw all of her weight on top of you. That's going to destroy you. She has to know that if she's going to jump on top of you while you're laying on the mat off the top rope, that she can't throw all of her weight. She's a bigger girl, and so I don't know if she understands her own strength in a lot of aspects, because a lot of these don't look purposely. A lot of these look like she doesn't understand her own strength, or she doesn't understand how to throw her weight to avoid, because there are big guys that do stuff like that. Keith Lee is huge and is throwing himself over the top rope, and no one's getting hurt with Keith Lee. So, and does some crazy things. So she needs to understand that there's a way to do this. And I just don't think there's anybody that's been able to relate that to her, because they've taught her so much. You're a monster. Just go out there and be that. And I don't think anyone's really honed that craft for her to be like, okay, there's a way to be a monster and be safe at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's the point we're trying to make too, is that there's a way to go about this, still be in this, I don't want to say monster character, but just the character of being very dominant, but still keeping your opponent safe. I mean, you don't drop someone on the back of their head and neck, much less on a turnbuckle. I mean, that, in addition to a concussion, that could have been a broken neck. That could have been the end of a career. And not just the end of a career, it could have been the beginning of, just constant pain and injuries. I mean, because, you hear people all the time that, they get in car accidents and then they just deal with nagging pain for the rest of their lives that, surgery and therapy can't even fix. So I want to read some of your guys' comments real quick. Dusty gave me the names of these ladies that were injured: Bailey, Sasha, Emma, Alexa, Charlotte, Asuka, Zelina, Becky, and Kyrie. So I remember Becky, Charlotte, Alexa,
Some of them were in NXT.
Asuka, and actually those are the only 4 I remember. Oh, Bailey. I remember it was either Bailey or Sasha. I remember 5 of them.
She did Emma, I think, at NXT. The Emma one, I think, was on NXT.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, she shouldn't even be in NXT if she's injuring people. I mean, that
would have been early on, so they probably would have thought that was a one-time. But now there is a record. Like, there is obviously something going on there.
There's a long track record in a short amount of time. That's the scary part. If this happened over the course of, even if this happened over the course of 7 or 8 years, that would still be kind of like, this is kind of a big deal. But this is over, technically over 2 years, but really a year and a half if you factor in the time off she had because of her injuries. That's what's not okay. That's what doesn't sit well with me. Michael says Bull Nakano or Karma would be good teachers for her.
I don't know if Awesome Kong / Karma would be a good teacher because she doesn't wrestle like.
I don't entirely agree, but I like the
that is a good reference point.
Yeah.
But I don't think because Awesome Kong wasn't doing a lot in her matches. She was very.
But Awesome Kong at the same time, like I don't remember her ever injuring her opponents. I mean,
I watched her on Impact when I first saw her was on Impact as Awesome Kong, and every woman was so unbelievably smaller than her though that most of the matches it was like a Great Khali match. It was like I'm just gonna chop you on the head, I'm gonna choke slam you or whatever, and like there was no major like spots with her.
Which is fine, though.
And they're putting Nia in these matches with women who are normally doing these bigger spots and trying to incorporate Nia. And I don't think Nia is able to be incorporated in those ways. Nia can't be the person who's expected to chuck someone across because she doesn't know, she doesn't understand the strength ratio that she needs to put forth on that.
Exactly.
And that's where I stand, is that I don't think there's a woman out there that has been in the situation that Nia's been in, trying to Awesome Kong didn't really compete in the women's revolution era where women were starting to do crazier things at her prime. She's doing, she's done a few matches in AEW where women are doing some things, but when she was in Impact, when she was really at the peak of her career, there wasn't a whole lot going on in the women's division. We were still with the Divas title. It was still in WWE. There was still a very lesser version of women's wrestling at the time. So there wasn't a whole lot going on. She doesn't know what it's like to be in Nia's position, to be told, hey, we're going to let all these women high fly and do all these crazy things. And what you're going to do is you're going to, they're going to sacrifice their bodies and you're going to chuck them into ladders and tables and guardrails and turnbuckles and just outside of the ring and all this stuff. And it starts to put Nia in this weird position where I have to throw a 120-pound girl and figure out how far I can throw her.
And that's like where you said something like that needs to be rehearsed ahead of time. But there's only so much you can rehearse. I think the point Cole and I are trying to make is that, the point I'm trying to make is that Nia is dangerous in the ring. I think she should have long since been sent back to the Performance Center. Again, we're kind of sounding like a broken record here, but she should have long since been sent back to the Performance Center to, I use this term a lot, work on her craft, work on spots like that in the ring, because like Cole said, this day and age, you don't have a lot of these Awesome Kong and Nia Jax type women in the world of wrestling. And so that's where the extra work might need to come in with working with, the smaller female wrestlers, because again, who in WWE is, well, let's think about this for a second, just hypothetical situation. Who in WWE, and let's throw in NXT, let's throw in the entire roster from WWE and NXT. Who is closest in terms of, we'll just call it weight / body type to Nia Jax? Who's the closest that we can think of?
If I had to guess off the top of my head right now, that new NXT talent, Raquel, whatever, who's running with Dakota Kai, she's about as big as a girl as I can think of right now in WWE.
Yeah, I'm just talking WWE right now.
And as far but she's stout. Like she's not, and I'm not talking about like trying to diss on people's weight, but Nia's big. Okay, like she's not like a muscular build. She is like a Big Show build. She is a big girl.
Yeah, we got some responses, and this is the one I was thinking of, Tamina. She's probably the closest, but she's still well smaller than...
The thing about Tamina, though, is that Tamina gets hurt so often on her own.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just throwing this out, like in comparison to whenever you compare Nia Jax to anybody else on the WWE or NXT roster, the point I'm trying to make is that she doesn't have anybody else to work with that is this, of the same build, the same size as she is. I mean, you could throw in Natalya. I mean, she's pretty muscular, but there aren't like most female wrestlers on the roster are well smaller than her. I mean, I'd say the vast majority are at least 100 pounds lighter than she is. And so again, that's where our point comes in, that this kind of thing shouldn't be happening. She should be sent back to the Performance Center to pretty much do a lot of in-ring work and practice, because this is like we said, a long track record of injuring other wrestlers, other talent in such a short amount of time. Brian says she has to work to her size in a slow, methodical way to reduce the chance of these errors that are resulting in injuries. 100% agree. Jamie says Rhea Ripley. I mean, Rhea's big, but she's not, I mean...
She would still get chucked easy.
Yeah. And the point we're trying to make, pretty much all of these women, besides maybe Tamina, would be tossed like a piece of paper.
Not to mention, when you start getting specific on who can wrestle each other based off size, Nia Jax would run out of opponents within, because Nia Jax is not very good on the mic. So, it's one of those things where like she can't cut promos. You can't do 6-month-long rivalries with her, with someone else who can't cut promos like Tamina. And so it's one of those things where Nia Jax really needs to sit down and work with someone who can teach her what it's like to be the monster of the women's division.
Agreed.
I would love to see her sit down with someone like Big Show, Kane, somebody who was bigger, who was always wrestling somebody smaller.
There you go.
I think Big Show is a veteran. I think with him kind of leaving the business, they should let him take some time with her to really talk, because I can't think of a time that Big Show hurt somebody.
And I've watched Big Show ever since WCW. I'm trying to think. I know he was injured a few times, but
a lot of that's
just
thinking, his size.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that was not of anyone else's fault. But I'm trying to think if I cannot honestly recall any time Big Show directly injured somebody in the ring. And like I said, I've watched him ever since he was the Giant in WCW. I don't recall any time he ever injured someone. So that's a great point. That's someone.
This is a guy who's throwing his whole weight into somebody in the turnbuckle. This is somebody who's power slamming, choke slamming.
And not only that, this is somebody that we've got to think. And I know, Nia's been very public about the fact that, she's trying to basically tone her body, lose weight, but still, keep that dominant body type that WWE would be looking for. Big Show's gone through the same transformations. He's gained and lost a ton of weight over the years, so that would be that'd be a benefit as well. So I think that's a good point. I think Big Show would be perfect for someone like or Big Show would be perfect for Nia Jax to work with. Something's got to be done though. Chris says a broken C6 vertebrae ended my brief career. It definitely is serious. I just want to read a few more comments here. Justin says, that's just it. Nia doesn't need to do all this stuff to tiny women. Maybe someone like Charlotte or Rhea have that have length to them. Has nothing to do with length. We're talking about the fact that she can just, toss anybody like a piece of paper. Again, with maybe the exception of Tamina, but like Charlotte and Rhea, they would get tossed around too. She has no business being around Charlotte or Rhea from the standpoint that they are main event ready talent.
I still go back to the point too, is that when you start specifying who she can wrestle based off of their sizes, you limit the roster down to 2-3 women tops. And so now you have somebody that they like Nia. It's clear that they like her.
Yeah.
It's clear that she has a build that is not popular in the women's division.
They like Nia because of who she's related to. I mean, let's just be honest.
But I'm not going to say I don't see potential in her, because that would be wrong. I think she does have potential. She wasn't ready to come up, but they also are trying to advance the women's division. And she is somebody in the women's division that is a non-typical body type, a non-typical women's wrestler. They wanted to expand the women's division to be more than just the pretty face.
Right.
And so I get that to an extent. She has potential. They like her. It's clear. But when you start to limit her to the people that she's allowed to wrestle, you're done with all of the storylines she could possibly do within a year. And you're not going to just keep bringing in random talents for her to wrestle, because that would be dumb.
Oh, 100%
She
agreed.
needs to be able to adapt. They need to teach wrestlers how to adapt to what they're doing, which is why even in the men's division, a lot of guys who are talented in the indies come into WWE and they don't go very far, because they don't know how to adapt from doing this to doing what WWE does.
Mm-hmm.
And what WWE does is they do a very safe product. It's not like some of the independent scenes. And I don't even know if she ever went independent. I think she jumped right into developmental.
She probably went straight to NXT again because of who she's related to.
If I remember her story right, I remember she spent some time in developmental with WWE. But it's one of those things where I don't think you can start to specify who she can wrestle based off of size and length and
Agreed.
all that. It's one of those things where she needs to be taught how to adapt. And I feel bad for her, because the fact that she hasn't done indie stuff, the fact that she hasn't had a whole lot of training and has been thrown into trying to be great and trying to get over and trying to adapt into a world that's not really catered to her, is probably a lot harder than a lot of us understand. But that doesn't take away the fact that she's unsafe. It doesn't take away the fact that she's hurt people. It doesn't take away the fact that then she's going around talking about other women who are unsafe while she's being unsafe. So there are definitely inconsistencies that need to be worked out with her. But I do feel for her, because I think she has potential. I think she has the drive to want to be great. It's now, how do we get her where she needs to be? And that's where WWE needs to really evaluate her. Okay, you're hurting people. You're not really good on the mic. What can we do to get you to where you're not hurting people and you're relevant?
Yeah, and I think the point we're getting at is, no matter who is across from the ring, and someone made a good point about whenever Big Show went up against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather had no wrestling experience, but the Big Show took care of him in the ring. That is what you're supposed to do whenever you are a pro wrestler, regardless of who is on the other side of the ring. I mean, case in point, WCW had David Arquette, for crying out loud, winning the world title, but they still took care of him in the ring. You've had Drew Carey make appearances in the Royal Rumble. I don't even know if he had any contact specifically with anybody, but if he did, they were taken care of. Kane has tombstoned Pete Rose before. Pete Rose didn't land directly on his head. Kane took care of him. The point we're trying to make, Nia Jax needs to work on how to protect the other person on the other side of the ring, regardless of their size, regardless of their gender. Let's move on. We've talked about Nia Jax enough. Actually, I'll read a few comments real quick. Lynn says maybe they need to think outside the box and bring someone in who is groomed to be able to wrestle her and teach her the point she's missing. They need to bring somebody in to teach her stuff before she's put on TV.
Yeah.
Dusty says with Nia being part of the NOI, I always butcher their name, that family. And by the way, that family is like, The Rock, Umaga, the old school Head Shrinkers tag team. But being a part of that family, she should have plenty of people that would take time to help her. The key word is she should, but she obviously hasn't, or they have, but it hasn't worked.
You look back at their schedules, though, too. It's so WWE and the wrestlers who have left have talked about the strenuous schedule when it comes to and right now might be the best time to work on things when they're not really pushing a whole lot of traveling. They're pretty much stuck in one location. This would be the time to sit down with her and really work with her throughout the week on okay, this is how you do this is how you do that.
Especially since now that WWE, that we mentioned on our last show, WWE is going back to taped shows within the next 2 weeks.
That this is the time to really hone in on that, because typically you're not going to have time to train. You're not going to have time to really work. They're training. A lot of these people who are coming up into the business of WWE, their training is the matches that they're doing on live TV or on house shows. They're doing it in front of live audiences. They're wrestling with someone who has experience, and they're going to teach them some things along the way. I watching these interviews and podcasts and stuff, a lot of these guys are like, I learned from being in the match with them, not from the time we spent working on it ahead of time. I learned from being in the match with them how to do this, how to do that, what they did here and there.
Right.
And so Nia's not going to – there's not a whole lot of time to get one-on-one training like it would be in any other sport where you can go and hit the gym and practice throughout the week. She's going to be on the road. She's going to be traveling. She's got promos. She's got video vignettes to record. Like, there's all these different things that wrestlers do, especially when you have a prominent role. Nia Jax has a prominent role in the women's division. Whether we like it or not, she does. And so they're not going to take her off TV all the time so she can go and work on this. This is why this is the perfect time to sit her down with somebody, even if it was A-Train, who I know has worked with NXT a lot.
He's a great trainer.
Get her with somebody who is big, who knows how to be the bigger guy in the match, a bigger person in the match, I should say, who knows how to throw their weight the right way, knows how to utilize their strength proportionally to make it believable. And I think that's her biggest problem. She wants to be believable, but oversells it,
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it, is I think it all is genuinely accidents, but you can't let somebody who can't drive keep driving.
Exactly. Jacob says release her and let her work in Japan. Guys that did that have come back way better. I mean, potentially if she were to do that and find the right person in Japan to train her, but I mean, the point is that could be done here. And like Cole was saying, because WWE is going to a taped schedule within the next, I think, 2 weeks, maybe even sooner. Now's the perfect time to do it. Get in the Performance Center, work on stuff in the ring. Ira says they brought her in because they wanted a female heel and she fit the bill. We're not disputing that. We're disputing the fact that she's unsafe in the ring, pure and simple. Anthony says that's not true there in Florida right now at the Performance Center. She has a ton of time to work right now. This is the perfect time for her to work on poor ring work. I'm not sure if what you're saying whenever you say that's not true.
That's exactly what I said. That's what I'm saying. Typically she would be on the road. So that's why I'm saying during this time is the perfect time to work on this stuff, because they're not on the road. They're stuck in one location, and they have a training facility that has rings in it. It's the perfect time to work on it.
Yeah. Joseph says, quote unquote, fake it until you make it is a bad strategy when the health of life and livelihood of other people is involved. Yeah. 100% agree. Okay. We're going to move on from the Nia Jax situation. We got some other things we want to talk about. I found this interesting. So Cody Rhodes has filed to trademark the Cody Rhodes name. So as we all know, in AEW so far, and even ever since he's left WWE, on the Indies and New Japan, he'd only used Cody. I found this interesting. So on April 13th, AEW Executive Vice President Cody Runnels filed to trademark the Cody Rhodes name. Again, that was on the 13th. The filing was for merchandise and general pro wrestling use. So my question / thought is WWE finally giving in? Because to my knowledge, they own the Cody Rhodes name. It did expire.
It's expiring.
That's why I was asking, because if it expired, if you're WWE and you're trying to, let's just be honest, hinder the competition whenever, however, wherever you can, why would you let that expire?
My thing would be this. Think about it this way. Is him really spending the money to keep that name away hurting Cody? No, because Cody and AEW are still getting over and still doing decent without him going by Cody Rhodes. And because Dustin owns his name, they're able to get away with referring to him as Cody Rhodes or part of the Rhodes family just by including Dustin in certain sentences.
Yeah.
So I think businessly you have to weigh in. Does it make sense for me to spend money on a trademark that really does me no good because Cody's still, the AEW is still getting a push. Cody's still getting a put. They're getting bumps and rubs off that still because of the fact that he doesn't have the Rhodes last name. So if anything, this is saving Vince money. It allows Cody to move on. They can move on and let it go. They're apparently Vince McMahon has changed his mind about AEW and is done wasting his money on trying to keep people away and keep things away from AEW.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to focus on investing his money in the right areas to stay the number one wrestling business in the world.
And I don't disagree with that, and I don't disagree with anybody that's commenting so far. The point I was making is that we're talking about Vince McMahon here, so logic when it comes to money, for the most part, is just thrown out the window. Like
typically, yes.
He would spend an insane amount of money just for someone to not be able to use a particular name. It's Vince McMahon. Let's just be honest. He would do that. So it surprises me that A, he let it expire, and B, chose not to renew it. And I agree with you guys. I think, it's the Rhodes name. Everybody knows it's Cody or Cody Rhodes, regardless of whether or not he uses it, but he should be able to use it. Jamie says it expired and they waived grace period. Rumor was it was concession for the Dusty Classic. That could be true as well. I guess I missed the whole story whenever it came out that it expired, because before reading this story, I didn't even know it had expired. So
it's one of those things, though, where I don't think it has much to do with the Dusty Classic because they still own Dusty Rhodes' name. Each name was trademarked separately because Dustin Rhodes has the rights to his name. So that would make a whole lot of sense because WWE used to own Dustin Rhodes' name, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure because because
he was in WWE as Dustin Rhodes for a time too.
So Dustin Rhodes actually started out in Florida, and then he went to WWF shortly after his dad did. So Dustin Rhodes was actually in WWF briefly, 1990, 91 timeframe, and then he went to WCW, immediately used Dustin Rhodes. So, and I don't know what the rules, laws, etc. are as far as copyrights and trademarks and all that stuff. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know how all that stuff works. But long story short, it just surprised me that this expired, regardless of whatever deal was made or not made. I thought it was noteworthy, A, because I didn't even know that it expired. Apparently, I just missed the memo on that one. But noteworthy because we should see Cody Rhodes pop up on AEW pretty soon.
It's one of those
but correct me if I'm wrong, it was still Cody on last night's taping, is
I
that
believe
right?
so, yeah.
Which makes sense because it was a taping. But the guys in the truck, the editing department, whatever, can always edit that, I guess. So
it made sense, I think, when Vince did it the first, when he kept a hold of Cody's name and didn't really let go of the trademark because AEW was so fresh. And I think that it was a smart business decision to say, you know what, I already paid for this. It's mine. I'm going to hold on to it. But it doesn't make sense to renew it. They're always going to be able to use, WWE's always going to be able to use Dusty Rhodes' name because he's a WWE Hall of Famer. They have rights to him always. So there's no reason to hold on to Cody Rhodes' name. It does nothing for the Dusty Rhodes Classic. It does nothing for Dusty Rhodes' Hall of Fame career. None of that stuff has anything to do with Dusty Rhodes. So I don't think they're concerned about holding on to those trademarks and those things. They haven't punished Charlotte for her going and trademarking her indie names or Andrade.
That's true.
There are other people that they're not really getting mad at them for going to trademark their names anymore because it honestly is a waste of their time and money. And
when you think about it too, I mean, WWE is looking out for them by still classifying their talent as independent contractors. So the way I look at it, if you're one of these independent contractors, you need to look out for you as well from a business standpoint, even if that means trademarking your own name or names that you used on the indies. So not to get off track, but I credit Charlotte and Andrade for doing that because it's a smart business decision.
Oh yeah.
Brandon says at this point he doesn't have the time or money to worry about it. Bill says Vince is growing up after 70, 80 years, however old he is, finally. Travis says maybe it was part of the cutbacks. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how much it is to trademark a name. My guess is it's probably not expensive when you compare it to WWE's. Whenever you compare it to their balance sheet, but I don't know. Anthony says almost as petty as Brody doing an entire dumb storyline acting like Vince. Wade says maybe a small olive branch on Vince's part. We have some people commenting on the Dustin Rhodes name situation in WCW. I'm just going to skip past those. Justin says they really should wait for the first live crowd to bring Rhodes back, bring the Rhodes name back, like after his pyro, then have Justin Roberts announce him. As the Rhodes flashes on the screen, the crowd goes absolutely nuts. I mean, I'd pop at that. I don't know if a lot of other people would.
I don't
just
know if
because
people would get it. I don't know if every single wrestling fan understands that he doesn't have the trademark. Like, because people knew who he was already. So, to be honest with you, even I knew he didn't have it. But when I watch, I don't think about, oh, he doesn't have the trademark of his last name. Like, I just think, oh, that's Cody Rhodes. I don't have to say his last name or see it on the screen to know that that's Cody Rhodes.
I only notice it because if I'm watching, I'm still expecting, whenever Justin Roberts or whoever's announcing, whenever they say the American Nightmare, Cody, I'm still expecting that Rhodes, and whenever I don't get it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. They can't use it yet. And I found, not to get off on a tangent, and we can make this part of the discussion brief, but it's been long discussed ever since he left WWE that Cody Rhodes is not a main event talent. I'll leave my opinion on this short and sweet. I think he's very much a main event talent. He's good on the mic. He is an excellent storyteller in the ring. No, he doesn't do all the aerial high fly stuff like the Young Bucks does, which I'm okay with. I mean, I'm a fan of the Young Bucks as well. I'm really a fan of the entire Elite. Wanted an excuse to play that soundbite. No, but seriously, I mean, Cody Rhodes, I think, is excellent in the ring from a performance and ring psychology standpoint. So I very much think he's a main event talent. I was excited whenever, prior to the AEW becoming a thing, prior to forming AEW, whenever he won the Ring of Honor World Championship, I thought that was a phenomenal booking decision. I was happy for him. So I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people say he's not a main event talent. I 100% disagree. I think he's definitely main event.
You got to look at booking too. So when he was in WWE, they really missed the mark on him when they switched to the Stardust gimmick. Because at first it was funny because he got to do some things with his brother, and I wasn't against the whole Stardust thing. But
I was
just because I didn't mind it when it was him and his brother doing some tag team stuff together. I didn't think they had to go that route for that to happen. But it was all right. And he actually did a great job playing Stardust. Like, at the end of the day,
he did make it work.
He made his gimmick work. Now, they missed the mark, though, because all of his gimmicks before that were great. And they never really gave it the push that it deserved. The dashing Cody Rhodes, he made it work. I mean,
he did, but it's just so cheesy.
It was kind of, just a really basic heel gimmick, but they could have done, especially when he started wearing the face mask when he broke his nose or whatever it was.
I liked that though. I thought that was kind of a.
There was some when he was with Legacy with Orton.
Mm-hmm.
There were some great moments that they really could have catapulted him. Legacy should have catapulted him and Ted DiBiase into at least the singles title pictures, which they did to an extent, but more than what they got.
Oh, I agree.
So WWE really missed the mark on him, I think, because when Stardust hit, it was like his stock value went down because he was doing almost a comedic gimmick, and he was doing really well in it, though.
Yeah, and just real quick, not to interrupt you, Travis says, I love comedy wrestling. I do, too, if it's done right. Like this thing they're doing with the Viking Raiders, and we're not going to get off on this tangent, this thing that they're doing with the Viking Raiders, which supposedly is the recycled version of what they were going to do with the Revival, I think is atrocious.
Comedy wrestling is great, but not at the sake of ruining the wrestler's whole career over it.
Exactly.
And I think Cody was more talented than the Stardust gimmick as a whole. And so when the Dustin Cody Rhodes tag team thing was kind of done, the Stardust thing should have been kind of done. It's something that they could have brought back if Dustin was ever going to come back. Like they could always play with it, kind of like the Finn Balor demon thing.
Yeah.
Like they could have kept it around, but they didn't have to make it his whole career. Because now when I think WWE, I don't think of Cody Rhodes, the dashing Cody Rhodes, the legacy Cody Rhodes. The first thing that comes to my mind is Cody Rhodes Stardust, and it falls flat. And that's what WWE wanted. They sometimes like to ruin guys on their way out, and I think Cody knew that he was a little bit better than what he was getting pushed as. And then you go into the independents and you get the big push, you get the booking decisions, and I think that's where he got to prove I'm more than what WWE showed me on TV.
Right, 100% agreed. And if you've watched him ever since he left WWE, I mean, even on the indie circuit in New Japan and Ring of Honor, he upped his game well before AEW even started, and I think that helped him from a confidence standpoint, being in the ring, whether he is in a match or he's on the mic. I mean, he's definitely improved for sure. Mark says Stardust was homage to Dusty and that it was one of his gimmicks, nicknames early on in his career. Yeah, that's the one thing I did like about it is if you go back, and Mark, you have to give me the time frame on that because I don't recall, but Dusty Rhodes did have that as kind of like a character, like a sub character. Maybe that's not the right word, but Mark, if you're still watching, let me know the time frame on that because I'm just having a brain lapse as far as when that was. Conrad says one of WWE's biggest misses was with Sandow. He got over even when they didn't want him to. 100% agreed. Joshua says Dashing Cody is one of the best heels WWE had in the grotesque with the broken nose and face mask. Andrew says you guys have rose-colored glasses. That era was met with apathy in half-full arenas. Not sure what that means. Ira says when Dusty was Texas Brass Knuckles champion, he had the words. Oh, that's what it was. So yeah, it was back in the day of whenever Dusty Rhodes was in the Texas area. Whenever he was their Brass Knuckles champion, or at least that was part of when he was. What am I trying to say here? He carried that persona in Texas, but he might have carried it elsewhere as well. I'm not really sure. But if you go back, there's a photo of him having the Brass Knuckles title, and he has got the word Stardust on his trunks. Hey, Justin, how we doing, buddy? Cody should be called Cody the Night Dream Rhodes. I don't know about that. Let's see. Oh, okay. I was trying to tie in how where the Sandow thing came in with the Cody topic. Jamie says they missed the mark with the Sandow Money in the Bank split. Should have been Cody's win. Yeah, we'll just keep on going. One other story I wanted to bring up, if I can get it here. And I really wanted the John Cena soundbite. We're still working on that. But I guess today's John Cena's birthday. Today would have been the perfect
yeah.
Plus, you got to throw in the prank phone call. It's John Cena.
Super Slam.
That's so great. It never gets old.
Shout out to my homie John Cena. I don't really know him, but he's my favorite.
So real quick, I'm going to read one more little story blurb thing, whatever you want to call it. I think we're going to skip the recaps today. If you watched AEW or NXT last night or both, I only watched AEW, but from what I read on NXT, it was better last night than it has been in prior weeks. So
a lot of good promos out there. So and vignettes. So if you are trying to stay current, you can go on YouTube and watch the NXT highlights and the AEW highlights on their channels. There's a lot of good stuff on both shows. And then next week, there's, at least for NXT, I know AEW is going to have some good matches with the TNT qualifiers coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna know the finals after next week.
So, and NXT has some good matches with Damian Priest and Keith Lee and Charlotte and Mia Yim next week. So next week will be a good week to really do some recap stuff. So just go back and watch. There was some good content last night.
Mark says late 60s, early 70s for Stardust time frame. Yeah, that's much earlier than I thought it was. Thanks for that, Mark. read this last story article, again, whatever word you want to put with it, just to kind of give you an idea of what the rest of our show is going to look like. I want to talk about Dark Side of the Ring with Dino Bravo from Tuesday night. We'll talk about that a little bit. Let us know what your opinion on that was. We'll kind of recap that, and then we'll conclude the show in about 30-ish minutes with our belt giveaway. So stick around. Looks like we still got a good crowd of people. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll do that belt giveaway in about 30 minutes. Wanted to touch on the fact with XFL closing, Vince McMahon is still owes people a lot of money. Apparently, the exact number isn't known because there's like confidentiality clauses in contracts and things like that. Allegedly, Vince McMahon owes Oliver Luck around $20 million for being their commissioner. Oliver Luck, I think it was their commissioner. So I'll read this real quick. The money owed was a guaranteed amount and not contingent on whether the company was successful or not. Once McMahon realized he had to shut down operations of the XFL, he stopped all communications with Luck. Luck's firing was believed to have come out of nowhere and was done through a letter in the mail with a list of reasons for why he was being terminated by quote-unquote due cause. Let's see. Details were later revealed that the XFL hadn't actually lost as much money as originally reported. In fact, some of the money XFL will owe back goes to Vince McMahon himself because the money he claimed to be putting into the company was actually just a loan. By loaning money and firing the executives for due cause, McMahon has become the leading name in the debt owed to individuals because it makes him an creditor. During the bankruptcy, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's believed that McMahon's business reputation during the whole process has taken a massive hit. The deal coming out of the bankruptcy essentially screws almost everyone out of money, regardless of what their contract says, which I think is total garbage. So the lawsuit is that he was wrongfully terminated and that the money he was guaranteed is still owed to him, especially considering the company hadn't lost nearly as much money as originally thought. That I found that to be really interesting. If $20 million is really the right number, by the way, to answer someone's question, no, this actually is not hurting my shoulder. It actually kind of sits quite nicely. I mean, it doesn't really. It's not as awkward as other belts trying to put them over your shoulder. So it just kind of sits here. It's nice. It's comfortable. But if $20 million is really what Oliver Luck is owed, that's a ton of money for a league that's brand new. And I mean, yeah, they were doing well right off the bat, but you know the track record of the XFL prior to this season. There was only one season prior to this year. I think McMahon just needs to give him his money and be done with it. I mean,
I don't know. And the only reason why I say I don't know is because Vince McMahon's not a dumb guy. So to me, there is something contractually or something that we don't know
Agreed.
The whole story on, because if Vince fired him or however Vince handled it, there's a loophole somewhere. And Vince is notorious for loopholes. Mm-hmm. If you've watched his track record, you look at how he does things. I mean, just look at the releases they just did.
Right.
A lot of them, they release these guys temporarily to bring them back when they can. Mm-hmm. So, we are over here trashing the man for making a business decision that is really a loophole to just say, hey, guys, go sit at home for a couple weeks, manage your money well, and know that if you want to come back, I'll get you back. A lot of them were furloughed, but we didn't catch that. We heard released and moved on. And so, Vince is notorious for finding loopholes, finding a way out of things, getting around things. I mean, the dude got deemed as an essential business. Yeah. And you're talking about a guy who knows his business. And so I just have a hard time believing that they would file for bankruptcy, that they would go through all these different legalities when they didn't have to. I read the report that XFL had enough money technically to go through 2023, I believe. So if that's all true, there was a reason why they did it the way they did it. There's loopholes around not paying certain people, and I would almost venture to believe that Oliver Luck falls into that category. $20 million would be the one pay that if I could loophole out of paying somebody that, and not have to pay that, when I'm taking an L already, that would be the first person I would loophole out of not paying. And so I don't know. I think there's more to the story than what we're able to read because of confidentiality clauses and things.
And the amount might not be $20 million. That's just
But Vince is
rumored.
a smart, and his team, I should say. I don't know if I would just say Vince. His legal team is a smart team. They would not advise him to make a decision that would cost him more money.
Agreed. Lynn says, I was never into the XFL, so I never followed it much. I only followed it because, at least this season, I only followed it because it brought pro football back here to the St. Louis area. Dusty says, Oliver Luck is a career executive. He was one of the top NCAA executives for years. He was the athletic director for West Virginia University, first president and general manager of the Houston Dynamo in Major League Soccer. He isn't someone you can pressure like Vince, like you could those in the wrestling business. John says, good morning, who won the giveaway? We have not done the giveaway yet. Stick around, guys. We'll do that in about 20 minutes or so. Let's see. Bill says, I read Luck filed a lawsuit against him. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Andrew says, you're looking for logic from an illogical company. Yeah. I don't know if I agree or disagree with that, but it is what it is. All right, guys. That's about it for our little blurb, so to speak. Like I said, we're going to forego doing last night's recap. Like Cole mentioned, you can go back and check out highlights from last night on YouTube of both NXT as well as AEW. Both shows last night were an improvement from the last couple weeks. Tell you what, I'll just do this.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Got to do my read. I wanted to let you guys know that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast with new shows every week. We're on twice a week at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Again, that's 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central every Monday and Thursday. You can check us out on other platforms where you can access your podcasting as well. If you're watching us live right now, just to let you know, each show is archived. And like I said, you can go back and watch any one of them on Facebook or our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us on Instagram. Please like us on Facebook. Please follow us on Twitter. 3 of those links are below our picture here. So the YouTube link is right there. The Facebook link is right over there. And below Cole is our Twitter link. So follow us at our YouTube page. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. We're going to do future giveaways for all of those social media platforms. So do all of them. Our YouTube link is goingbroadwaypodcast.com/YouTube. Subscribe on to that channel. Facebook.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. We're on Twitter at goingbrdwypod. You can also find us on Instagram at instagram.com/goingbrdwypod. So like, share, subscribe, and follow us on all of our platforms to be entered into our future giveaways. Yeah, that's about it as far as I wanted to plug. You can also check us out on our web host at lineupmedia.fm. So I'm just reading some comments here. I'm trying to interpret. Bill, done. I appreciate it. I'm just reading some comments here. See if I want to mention any of these. I want to remind you guys. We mentioned this on just about every show, which is fine. I understand it's going to happen because we have more people that follow and like our pages, and we appreciate it. As best as possible, please keep the comments clean. Please keep them. What's the word I'm looking for here?
PG.
Yeah, keep them PG. We're trying
a family-friendly show.
Yeah, we're trying to keep this as family-friendly as possible. And I know I've kind of ripped on WWE off and on for their whole being PG gimmick, but I get it, especially being a parent myself. I really try to refrain from having my kids watch anything or hear anything that they shouldn't be or read anything that they shouldn't be. So I don't know if any kids watch or listen to us, but if you could just please keep the comments clean and considerate, I'd appreciate it. As far as our future giveaways, I'll just kind of plug the future giveaways real quick. So we've kind of just recently started plugging our YouTube channel and our Instagram pages. We're going to do a free t-shirt giveaway once we get to 500 follows on Twitter. I think we've got like 460, so we're not far off from that. Our Instagram page, I haven't decided. Our YouTube page, I haven't really decided. But once we get to a certain number on those, we'll do some t-shirt giveaways related to those. After today, our next belt giveaway, yes, we will have another one. I haven't decided what details of it are going to look like. Adam, the belt giveaway for today has not happened yet. We're going to do that in about 15 or 20 minutes. The future belt giveaway, we're going to probably do once we hit 3,000 likes on our Facebook page. This is where I really would love and appreciate your guys' help. Share our page with your Facebook friends. Share it on your Facebook groups. I'd appreciate it. So after today, again, our next one is going to be once we hit 3,000 likes on Facebook. We recently just got over 2,000, which I know I sound like a broken record. I know I say this over and over, but we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us and supporting us and supporting the page. We just started doing this just as something fun to do about 3.5 months ago, and just the overwhelming support we've gotten to this point is amazing. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys, and we're happy to do the belt giveaways. Is just our way of saying thank you. So again, we'll get to that in about 10, 15 minutes. I do want to talk a little bit about Dark Side of the Ring. The episode was on Dino Bravo this past Tuesday night. Cole mentioned, and Cole has not just recently, but Cole is more of a new school fan, whereas I'm more of I follow the current product, but I'm more of an old school fan as well. So Dino Bravo was somebody that had his own promotion in Canada in the 80s, and he was one that kind of he was the booker, but he put himself in the prominent roles. And so, by the way, if you've not watched Dark Side of the Ring from this Tuesday night and you want to watch it, you might want to put me on mute, but still hang out with us because we're going to do the belt giveaway here in a little bit. So once WWF started really getting off the ground, becoming a national brand, that's when all of the indie territories in the U.S. and Canada really started to fall off because Vince was snatching up all of the talent. And so Dino Bravo eventually was left with a decision. Does he want to try to, stay with his sinking ship, so to speak, or does he want to jump to WWF? Obviously, most of us know that he went to WWF. But fast forward a little bit, Dino Bravo had more aspirations that Vince didn't share in. And so he was only with WWF for maybe 4 years, I think. 4, give or take. And that's when, he led a lavish lifestyle while he was in WWF, cars, houses, and, he still had to figure out a way to live that lifestyle. So he got into the world of, contraband cigarettes and cigarette smuggling and things like that. So, again, fast forward a little more, he was murdered, but they don't know the situation of, how the murder or murderers got into his house. They don't know if if Dino even let him in, but the aesthetics of it are really confusing and conflicting because from my understanding, Andrew says 86 to 92. Okay, so 6 years, right around 6 years. I didn't know he was there in 86. I thought he was closer to 88 or 87, but that's all right. I'll take your word for it. They found him in his rocking chair with the remote still in his hand. Other than I think they said there was like a bullet hole in a window. Besides that, there was really no signs of aggression. There wasn't a struggle. And so the episode itself I found intriguing, but I feel like other episodes of Dark Side of the Ring kind of revealed more that I didn't know about, or just revealed some new things that hadn't been released. This one was just kind of like more of a retrospect of the situation, and it didn't really reveal a whole lot else that I didn't already know. So I was kind of left underwhelmed with the episode in itself. it was presented well. Don't get me wrong. It was a good episode, and it was definitely watchable. I mean, it wasn't something I just had to sit through, so we had something to talk about. But what made it most hard for me, and this is something Cole can touch on more, is that I'm not a fan of foreign TV or foreign films where you have to read a lot of subtitles, and that's kind of what made it a little harder watch for me, in my opinion. But aside from that, it was what it was. I'm glad I watched it, but at the same time, I was kind of left a little disappointed because they didn't really share anything that I didn't already know about.
Yeah, for me, especially when I watch like Dark Side of the Ring, documentary style things, I like to listen more than I like to watch, in a sense. And so for those who don't know, like I do a lot of different things. I'm a youth pastor. I do music. I do a lot of different things. And in the current climate, we're doing a lot of video stuff with my youth group. So I do a lot of video editing right now. So during that time that I'm editing, I usually put on a documentary or something to watch, or listen, I should say, in the background. And so this one was a little bit harder to watch because I had to actually watch, because they weren't translating what she was saying with a translator. Like, they didn't have Chris Jericho narrate what some of these people were saying, and I believe was French, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Everything was subtitled, so I had to keep kind of looking up to kind of follow the storyline, because like three of the people I think that were being interviewed for this were speaking straight French. So it's just really, it was a harder watch because you had to really pay attention to every little thing that was being said in the subtitles. Now, with all that being spoken, I am a Ruthless Aggression wrestling fan. I came in, so I'm only 26, and came from actually a pretty sheltered family, so I wasn't allowed to watch at certain times in my growing up. So I kind of watched it when I was allowed to. And grew up playing the game. So I grew up in the Ruthless Aggression, the TNA or more NWA TNA era of independent wrestling that was on TV, ROH, Wrestling X Society when it came on MTV. So some of these guys, I have to go back and kind of look them up and look at their prominent roles and stuff. And I enjoyed that. Those of you who have watched the show know that I'm trying to kind of backdate some of my wrestling log during this, which is why I love this show, because we're not just current product, but we also talk about the past product. So it really gets me back to appreciating where wrestling came from. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those episodes that really gets me back to appreciating a time where some of these wrestlers who were great, they were really good wrestlers, still didn't have the means to be like a top paid talent, in a sense. Dino Bravo is known as one of the better wrestlers of the time, and yet was having to sell contraband cigarettes to maintain the lifestyle that he was used to living or operating at that level.
Right.
And as you watch Dark Side of the Ring, you kind of notice that some of these older wrestlers all kind of dabbled in one of those areas of like mafia mentality, or, some kind of drug-related selling or trading or right. using. So wrestling, it seemed like in that era had a lot of, and I knew this to an extent, a lot of partying involved, a lot of things going on in the background, in the back scenes that you would have never imagined or guessed. Now, I think we're a little bit desensitized to it because we've seen so much of it come to light now.
Right.
And that's why WWE and a lot of these promotions have their wellness policies and their drug tests and their, all the different things that they do to protect their image now. But back then there was none of these things really in place. And so now you kind of see how many people were actually involved in these kind of, related things. It was a very interesting story of a guy who it looked like there was no forced entry when he was shot and murdered. There was a lot of shots fired into that man. They talked about how it looked mafia style mentality, mm-hmm. Which just leads you to believe that he was involved in a lot more things. He did have a mafia kind of build and demeanor to him. So that didn't really shock me. And his story is just a very devastating story to hear about, especially when you're learning about him for kind of the first time. Like I had heard his name mentioned in wrestling talks and stuff before, but I didn't really know a whole lot about him.
Yeah.
To like correlate, oh, this was one of the greats of this time. And so kind of going back and realizing how prominent of a guy he was during that time, and then to hear the sad story, it really is a devastating story to hear about somebody who took a wrong turn somewhere, and it ended up costing him his life.
Agreed. I'm going to read some comments real quick, and then we're going to do our belt giveaway here in about 5 minutes. So stick with us. Just want to get some comments read here. Wade said, in my opinion, he was set up and murdered by someone he knew. Jerry says, the problem with Dino Bravo's case is there is not much evidence. More than likely, it will never be solved. Unfortunately, I agree. I don't think there's enough out there to point it to anyone or any group specifically. Adam says, so is it one that I could not watch and not be missing out then? I'd recommend watching any Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, it's whether or not you don't know going into an episode if they're going to say something or reveal information that you know someone may have not already known about. So I'd recommend watching any of them. That being said, I mean, if you know the history of Dino Bravo, you know, I like I said, I didn't find anything new that I didn't already know. Mark made a great point about how he was a family man, and that's one thing I guess I didn't really know about, but I'm saying I didn't know. I pretty much knew all of the ins and outs of, you know, the murder, the uncertainty behind it, and, you know, all of that. So I'd still recommend watching it either way. Yeah, like Andrew says, they're all watchable. Lynn, I will give it a view. Brett says Dino Bravo's murder is like the disappearance of Don Lewis, won't likely be solved. Wade says the subtitles did bring it down a bit. Chuck says, haven't seen any yet, but after 35 years of following, can't imagine there's much they can say that I haven't already heard. Brett, I'm behind on Dark Side. Last one I watched was episode 3, New Jack. Yeah, you got to watch Jimmy Snuka from last week.
That was a good one.
That one I think was a good one. Let's see. Andrew says it's not how much you make, it's how much you save. Very true. Eugene says you must have the strongest shoulder ever. Long time to prop up a belt like that. It's not, like I said, I'm not really propping it up. It's just kind of sitting here. You know, it's not. There's no effort. I don't even really have to hold it up. I just kind of have my hand here. So, Mark, how we doing? He says, "Yo, what's going on, everyone? We're about ready to do our giveaway. That's what's going on. So hang out with us a little bit longer." Wade says he may have tried to screw someone over and got caught. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. John, I'll mention that in just a second. He says, thoughts on Triple H 25-year belt. I'll get to that in a second. Sean says it's for sure a watch. Yeah, Bill says, of all things, cigarettes. I thought the same thing. I mean, it's...
For the time span, it kind of made sense, though.
I mean, it does, because one thing about Canada is... I don't know if it's currently like this, but I know in the 90s, like, if you lived in Canada, most people smoked, and most people didn't want to pay the normal or premium prices for cigarettes. So that was my initial thought when I found out that was what it was over. But then once I learned a little bit more, again, prior to watching last night, it kind of made a little more sense. Alan says, I got my wife hooked on Dark Side of the Ring now. Let's see.
My wife's not a wrestling fan at all, but she's a documentary fan.
Yeah.
And we watched one or two of them. The Chris Benoit one, I think, was the one we watched. She would probably have a hard time watching some of the older wrestlers because she would have no idea who they were, but there's a few that she was familiar with. The Chris Benoit one, she actually sat through both parts with me and watched it and actually was like intrigued by it. So it does have a lot, especially season we're in season 2 right now. Season 2 has a few more people I think that I'm interested in seeing with the Road Warriors and Owen Hart, some of the ones that are coming up as well. So
yeah, the Road Warriors and Owen Hart especially are the ones I'm most excited about because, I mean, Road Warriors were the tag team that I pretty much grew up on, and then the Owen Hart situation, I'm interested to find out if they talk about or reveal anything that I've not already found out about or know about. So, Adam says the Snuka episode was interesting. The police chief dude seemed sketchy. Yeah, 100% agreed. I mean, he seemed very uneasy, which kind of made me as a viewer uneasy as well. Like something's off. Andrew says, I'm Canadian. Cigarettes cost $14 a pack, but you can get them at native reservations. They're about $5 a pack. Yeah, that's currently. I'd be interested to see what the prices were in the 90s. And Wade says it's still that way in most of the provinces in Canada. Brett says, I'm excited about the Owen Hart. If there's new info, yeah, same here. All right, guys, I could read comments all day, but I think you guys are ready for the belt giveaway. So looks like we got a good crowd here, so we're going to do this giveaway. All right, before we do that, I want to go through some of the details, I guess. So like I've said, we have an NWA Big Gold, an NWA style Big Gold, I should say, a domed globe, and this one that I revealed earlier in the show. I'll give you another close-up of it. Oops, upside down. So this is sticking kind of with the NWA theme. This is the NWA Blue Strap World Tag Team Championship belt. United States map there. You got the Canada map there. Flip it over. We got Australia. Oh, that's good for it. Let's see. United Kingdom, Japan plate on that one. You got the 6th NWA Tag Team Champions plate. And we got Russia and Mexico on that plate. So this is a very nicely etched belt. All these belts are zinc plates. So, yeah, Andrew's right. They're all sweet belts. Can't go wrong with any one of them. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to do 3 randomizer drawings. I've got all of our first 2,000 likes on Facebook, plus our 450-some Twitter follows that we had once we hit 2,000 likes. They're all in this randomizer. I'm going to do 10 clicks for each drawing. Whoever's on the 10th click will win. So the first winner gets their pick of this one, the Big Gold, and the Domed Globe. Now, I don't have any pictures of the Domed Globe because it's still being made currently. And if I can share the makers with the winners privately, or I can share the makers, period, with anyone that might be interested. You can just message me privately. But the first winner, the first person that's drawn gets their pick of the 3. Again, keep in mind that the Domed Globe is not finished yet. It'll be finished in about a month or so, month and a half maybe. I do have 2 belts in hand that will ship to the winners, can ship to the winners tomorrow if I get their information in time. The winners have up to 24 hours from the time that I message them to give me their mailing address, their real name. Like if someone on Twitter wins, I think I've just got their Twitter handle. They'll have to give me their real name and everything. They have up to 24 hours from the time I message them to give me that information. If I do not hear from that person, if I don't hear from a winner within 24 hours, we'll do another drawing sometime tomorrow. So again, whoever's drawn first gets their pick of the 3. Whoever's drawn second gets their pick of the other 2. And then whoever's drawn third will get the belt that's left over. So all of these are the Big Gold and the Domed Globe are brand new. This is pretty much brand new. I mean, this was finished in February, I believe. So, I mean, it's only 2 months old. So, I mean, it's practically brand new. So, that being said,
I will say this just to verify, guys. Alex is a belt collector. He does not get junk belts. So the one that you haven't seen yet, I guarantee you he knows what he's doing. It'll be a good belt. Also, I don't know if you covered the shipping for those who might be out of.
Great point. So the winners, so for any winner within the lower 48 states, I will cover the shipping. If you live in Alaska, Hawaii, or anywhere else internationally, you guys, I'll have to work out the shipping costs with you, and you will have to cover that 100%. If you decline, then you're declining the belt, and we'll have to do another drawing. Again, I don't know shipping costs to, let's say, I know we have a lot of people in England that like our Facebook page. I don't know what shipping to England would look like. I'd have to research that and work that out with you. So
Is the Dome Globe the black strap or a red strap?
It is a black strap. It's on a laced black strap. It is going to be made like the original it's going to be made in the style that Nick Aldis has now. It's going to have laced edging, plates, grommets, everything is going to be as close to accurate as possible to the version that Nick Aldis has now. So I'll tell you what, that being said, guys, let's do this. Now, unfortunately, you're going to have to trust me on this. I tried to get a camera set up to where I could show you this live. Unfortunately, I can't. But again, you'll just have to take my word for it. I would put my hand on a Bible and tell you guys that I'm doing this 100% honestly, genuinely. I've made sure that all 2,400 and some names and Twitter handles are in this.
It's legit, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
There you go. All right, guys, let's do this. So we're going to do the first drawing now. So, like I said, 10 clicks. Whoever's on the 10th click will be our first winner. So, and I'll try to bring the microphone closer so you can at least hear me click. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, last one. This is going to be our 10th click. Whoever's on the 10th click will be our first winner. We have Anthony Turbocast. I don't know if Turbocast is your real last name, but it looks like this is one of our Facebook followers because this is not a Twitter handle. So Anthony Turbocast is our first winner. Anthony will get his first pick of the 3 belts that are available. So congratulations to Anthony. You are our first winner. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually on the stream earlier. I think he commented.
He might still be here somewhere.
Anthony, if you're still on the stream, comment and let us know that you're here. You are our first winner. You get your pick of the first 3. You get your first pick of the 3 belts that are here. I don't know if Anthony's still here or not, but if he's not, that's all right. I'll contact him privately. Yeah, all winners will be contacted privately, so you don't have to be watching to win. So let's do our next one. All right, again, we got 10 clicks going here. 10th click will be our second winner. So here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we go. 10th click is going to be our winner. 10th click, Mark Maggard. Maggard.
Mark Maggard's in here. Congratulations, Mark. He just said congratulations.
Mark.
Congratulations, Mark Maggard.
Mark, you're our next winner, buddy. Congratulations. Sweet. We got a live listener, live watcher winner. What am I trying to say? You guys know what I mean. We have someone live that won. Mark, I'll contact you privately. You'll have your second pick of the whatever belt is available. So I'll have to hear from Anthony first.
He said awesome.
It's not popping. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm using the restream chat, so mine's a little bit lagged. But yeah, Mark, congratulations. Anthony, congratulations. Mark, we'll have to wait on what Anthony's pick is before you give me yours. Or better yet, you could just give me a list when I contact you privately. Probably what I'll do is when I contact all 3 of the winners, you'll just give me in order of which belts you would prefer, and then I'll just go off that depending on what the first and second winners say, if that makes sense. All right, so Anthony Turbocast is our first winner. Mark Maggard is our second winner. We're going to do our third and final drawing. So let me get back to the correct screen. Mark, you're very welcome. I appreciate you tuning in and supporting us and hanging out with us, so thank you. All right, so we're going to do our last third drawing here. All right. 10 clicks here. So, hold on. My screen's doing something weird. Matthew says, what was the third belt? This is the third belt. It's this NWA tag team belt. So the domed globe and the big gold were the ones I revealed previously. This is the third.
And remember, we're letting the person who wins first pick which belt they want.
Yep.
The person who won second to pick out of the 2 that are left, and then the third person will get whatever is left after that. So,
and we're not trying to make it sound like whatever is left is like it's trash. I mean,
they're all great.
All these belts are awesome. So, I mean, worst case scenario, if you win, you get the belt and you don't want it, then just turn around and sell it. There's tons of belt groups on Facebook. You can, turn around and sell these. And like I said, I can provide information privately as far as who the maker of these belts are if anyone is interested. So, all right, guys, let's do our last, third, final drawing here. So I'll bring the mic closer down so you can hear me clicking. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, 10th click. Here we go. Number 10, Justin Del Rio is our third and final winner. I will contact each of those gentlemen privately. Congratulations again to Anthony Turbocast, Mark Maggard, and Justin Del Rio for our belt giveaway to our winners. Again, congratulations. We appreciate you guys and your support. We're going to do our next belt giveaway once we hit 3,000 likes on Facebook. So again, help us get there. Share it with your friends. Share it on your pages. We're going to do frequent giveaways, guys. So please still like and follow and subscribe to our pages. We appreciate the support. I know I say that over and over and over, but sincerely from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate it. We love doing these giveaways. We do frequent T-shirt giveaways as well. So again, congratulations to Anthony Turbocast, Mark Maggard, and Justin. I keep wanting to say Alberto Del Rio. Justin Del Rio. I'm sorry. Congratulations to you guys. Again, thanks for hanging out with us. We're live every Monday and Thursday on Facebook and on YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. For Cole, for Alex, myself, we appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will catch you guys on Monday.
And so, goodbye. And good night. Bang!
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.